بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين.
The fact remains that the US is still bombing a number of Muslim nations around the world. Which begs the question, do Muslims in the military, who sacrifice so much to be there, ever feel like they're fighting a war against their own faith?
Oftentimes over the course of my years, I've heard the claim that America is at war with Islam. This is far from the truth. I've deployed in 3 different locations, Kuwait, Iraq, and Afghanistan. And in each of those countries, I fought alongside our Muslim allies against an enemy that was common to us all. Until you've put the boots on and the uniform on, you really don't know what it's like. You're just going off of hearsay. At my first duty station in 1995, the superintendent told me that when I gave my oath of enlistment, that my oath was given in accordance to the Christian God and not my God.
You have to be very sort of blind to the political situation that's happening in the UK as well as around the world to essentially be comfortable with joining the army at this present time. Some people would see that as not only we're trying to pledge allegiance to the state, but rather to the foreign policy itself. And that's something that a lot of Muslims would decry about.
But others have come out in support of the military. Afzal Amin was an officer that served in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Foreign policy is a great motivator to join because you can have a disproportionately positive effect on the lives of thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps even millions of people who are themselves Muslim in those countries by doing a very good job being a part of the armed forces who are deployed there. But who was helped by the work that's happened in Iraq and Afghanistan? Other Muslims. So the British Army is not a non-Muslim army or a Muslim army. It's not like that. It's a British army.
I think we were in Baghdad for a few days, and then we were in a firefight outside the Abu Hanifa Mosque. And it was just totally bizarre, just gunfire everywhere, a couple of RPGs. And I was just thinking, what the am I doing here? And that question never went away. I don't know how to explain the war to myself, and have yet to have any clear thought of like, yes, we actually made a difference there, because we didn't at all. There was no difference made, maybe for the worse.
Mudahara and what it entails is just one of the bases of their ridda. Take another ground for their ridda. Every person who joins the military must swear in by repeating the military oath of enlistment. They solemnly swear and affirm to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all its enemies. Against all its enemies. To join the military, you have to solemnly swear and affirm that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States against all its enemies. Bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States. Bear true faith and allegiance against all the enemies of the United States. You can go ask the children of Afghanistan and Syria and in Yemen who are the enemies of the United States, and Palestine as well. And elsewhere, they have to solemnly swear to abide by the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers over them, and according to the rules and regulations of the Uniform Code of the Military Justice. The UK and other nations have similar oaths. Now give me a complete, full sentence in that oath that's not kufr. And if you don't think it's kufr, you better spring to the Tawheed classes. I will fully admit a person who gave that oath has fulfilled the concept of wala and bara fully and completely. Wala bara to the United States. Wala bara to its constitution, to its leaders, to their military superiors, to their codes, not to Allah and His Messenger and the believers. Whoever willingly gave that oath has entered the gates of kufr and ridda. Muslims affirm to support the Quran and Sunnah against its enemies. They bear true faith and allegiance to La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, to the Quran, to the Sunnah, and to the teachings of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to be loyal to Allah and to the Messenger and to the believers. The person enlisting goes willingly, full choice of his, to give an oath in statements of kufr. They give their allegiance of kufr to accept and abide and agree to man-made laws. أَفَحُكْمَ الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ يَبْغُونَ. No duress, no torture, no force. They're not even pressured into this oath. Freely, willingly, walking into the gates of kufr to utter kufr. What Islam is left for one willingly, freely volunteers to accept tahakum to the kuffar, tawaghit, rules and regulations, whether it's the uniform code of their military justice or the constitution, or to abide by what the president says and to give allegiance to them. That takes me to another issue. The murtaddeen who join these institutions join it because they love it. You don't willingly volunteer and offer and risk your life to something you don't love. There's no military that can function without its soldiers giving them their full love and wala. Rules are not based on a few exceptions. They proudly display their love and wala decades after leaving it, on their license plates, on their stickers, on their cars, on their flags, on their houses. The parades celebrating their service. They're bolstering and bragging about it. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Al-mar'u yuhsharu ma'a man ahab." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Uhshuru alladhina zalamu wa azwajahum." On the judgment day, people will be in groups, assembled together. Assemble those who did wrong with their companions. Umar radiallahu anh said, the people of riba will be together. Yawm al-Qiyamah. The people of zina will be together. The people of alcohol will be assembled together. Following in that pattern, those given allegiance and willfully volunteering to such institutions that are hostile to Islam and Muslims, knowing what it entails, they will be assembled together with their companions. Who would want to be assembled with mass murderers who fight Islam and Muslim? There's plenty of jobs elsewhere in the West. A trash collector, a garbage man, a trash collector, or a gas jockey is by far a more noble job than a 7-star general in such militaries. A coal miner, a bathroom attendant, preserving his tawheed is more of a noble job than a major general in that institution. They join the military because they love it. They love their fellow Kafir soldiers who are fighting Muslims. They risk their lives for it. They love the man-made constitution they're fighting for. And they love to live under its darkness and under the darkness of democracy. So they're willing to put their lives at stake for it and to protect it. Al-mar'u ma'a man ahab, Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. In another narration, Anta ma'a man ahbabt. A man is with whom he loves, or you'll be with whom you love. I have a student who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided. Alhamdulillah. He told me once, they instill so much love for those institutions when you're in them. He said, I'll give you one example. He said, when we finished basic training, they played the official song. He was in the Navy, so I think it was the anchors away, as he said, if I'm not mistaken. He said, we used to fall down to our knees in tears due to the enormous love and dedication and loyalty that was instilled in us. He said, even years and years after that, I would cry in love for that military unit when I would hear that song. I read a Murtad online responding to Trump's statements about Muslims in the West. He said, it doesn't really matter what faith you are. We're all Marines first. Words of clear kufr. We say Tawheed is first. They say Marines are first. هل يستويان مثلا أفلا تذكرون? Any military of any country cannot exist without the soldiers giving them the summit peak of their wala. Without that, one would not be willing to give his life for them. When I graduated from high school here, I immediately went to Medina to study. Some of the Rafida classmates with me joined the military. A year and a half after that, the first Gulf War broke out. Years after that, I ran into one of my junior high and high school classmates, and he told me he was in the Air Force. I said, were you deployed to Al Jazeera where the planes took off to kill Muslims? And he said, yeah, he did. I said, how did you have the heart to actually drop bombs like that? We walk around ant colonies in our yards to avoid stepping on ants, and you drop bombs on innocent children and Muslims who say La ilaha illallah. They had brainwashed him beyond what one can imagine. By Allah, he said, I actually enjoyed and loved it.